Do you know what cancer taught me? Just one of the things that it taught me. Suffering is optional. And don't get me wrong, I've known that before. But when you go through something like this, and you know that your life is literally hanging in the balance, you realize that you can't control the suffering. I wake up crying, I go to sleep crying, I wake up in the middle of the night crying, for relationships, for my body, for my kids, for my husband, for my family, for my, and I would tell myself, Liz, stop. You can stop this. Some of the things that have you sad right now are just things you've thought of in your head, and you cried about them like they were absolutely real. And all people do that because, we're human. Daydreaming or, having your mind wander, things like that. It's a part of the human experience. But the suffering is optional. And please don't misunderstand me to say, if you're suffering right now, that I'm saying it's not valid, because it is. What I'm saying is that there's absolutely nothing I can do to stop the tears. They don't go away, they don't leave. I can't strong myself out of them. I can't say, oh, I'm a woman of strength and no. I'll be saying this, but I'll still be crying. I'll still emotionally be in a difficult place. And I was kicking myself for that. I don't know if you guys have been there before, but I don't like crying. I don't like feeling weak. And I don't like feeling like all she ever does is cry. Like, that is not something that I want. And it occurred to me that, Liz, what you're doing right now is punishing yourself for something that your body needs to go through. Once I realized that, Liz, if you don't deal with this now, it's going to come back to you later. And it's going to stay in your life until you handle it. So deal with it now, rather than waiting or trying to put it off, or trying to watch something funny and make myself laugh, or all the wonderful, sweet anecdotes or remedies that people have all over the internet. The things your mom would tell you, the things the neighbors will tell you, everyone has some way for you to cope. The truth is, when we don't actually cope or deal with our feelings, with what we're going through, they stay with us. Those negative emotions, the bad feelings, all that crap, it sticks with you. And then enter suffering. And now you're suffering because you can't make it be what you want it to be. And it's only been this past, probably last week, that it kind of cleared some things up in my head. Okay. So if I have to go through this, and my body is doing this because it knows what it needs, and I'm trying to stop it, and that is why I'm suffering, why am I going to continue to try to stop it? And at this point, when you know that you're trying to stop it, but it will not stop, I said to myself many times, oh, you're just weak. You don't have the fortitude that other people have when they're going through the situation. So what's going on with you, you should be all right with. There's no reason for you to be crying. There's no reason for you to be hurting. But the truth of the matter is that's not true. I gave myself permission to feel what I was feeling. I gave myself permission that even though I was feeling like hell, to go and do a shoot today because I'm fatigued today. I'm not just a little fatigued either. That's the thing. Like right now, the fatigue feels like your head is kind of underwater and you're just getting a little bit of air. And every time you go to take a deep breath, it expends so much energy that when you finally exhale, you feel like it takes work to just breathe. That kind of fatigue that happens with what I'm going through is not the you're just going to get over it kind of fatigue. It's going to take some time, and your body has to go through what it's going through. It needs the time and the space. But somewhere in my mind, I felt like I needed to be a woman of strength and perform and act and function in a certain manner. Why? Every time I tried to perform in the way that I would have, or act the way that I would have before, try to act like things were okay and this didn't happen, I ended up a lot worse. So I think what I'm saying is the suffering is optional. As in, it doesn't mean that you're not going to cry. It doesn't mean you're not going to feel your feelings. Matter of fact, you're going to feel them in a way, at least I did, I felt them in a way that previously I hadn't felt emotions that strong since I was a teenager, like that. I actually did feel them when my first child, her heart stopped beating and we gave birth. I did then. During the pregnancies with my children, I was incredibly sick, so I went through a lot of that. But it's been years. My son's 25, my daughter's 23. Like, it's been years. There were times with my GI issues that I went through some of this, but usually I could rectify the situation and just keep it pushing. But I really think I was shooting myself in the foot. I think if I would have just coped with it or dealt with it at that point, I wouldn't have gone through nearly as much as I did. In other words, I would have felt it today, and I'd have felt it tomorrow, and I'd have felt it, maybe for a month or whatever it was during that time frame. But I would have, when I came out of it, I would have came out of it ready to face the world and ready to face my life. In this case, I kept trying to push it back. I kept trying to say, one day I'll be back to normal. One day it's going to come back to me. One day I'll be that again. And honestly, I believe that even just this little bit of time, I'm feeling more like me. But at the time, trying to get to this point, trying to force myself to this point, wasn't helping me. And sometimes you have to feel your emotions, and everyone wants to clap and stomp their feet and preach and tell you what you're supposed to do. But legitimately, if you need to cry, cry. If you wake up crying at 2 o'clock in the morning and you have breast cancer, prostate cancer, or your spouse has cancer, your children have cancer, whatever the hell that is, cry. Cry for 2 hours. Ugly cry. Let it out. It's okay. Because when you don't let it out, the way that you feel in your body afterwards is terrible. And it, to me, I'm guessing it's probably why it lasted so freaking long for me. So whatever you're coping with right now, whatever you're coping with that's negative emotions, that's sad, that's angry, that's frustrated, that's worried, that's sorrowful, that's mournful, that's outside of your ability to fix or take away or stop at this particular moment, let yourself feel what you feel. Get over it. Go through it. Get over it in terms of let yourself feel those emotions. Let yourself feel them strongly so that you can ask yourself the next question, which is, how is this going to help me? And what is this teaching me? What is this in my life to teach me? I believe that when you have bad things happen in your life many times, if you would allow it to teach you, one, you don't repeat it, but two, you realize that there's lessons even in the hard stuff. The Bible says all things work together for the good of God. That's all things. Not just sad, not just happy, not just joyful, gleeful, not just that. It's also the sad and the misery and the longing and the wanting and the not understanding how a person can treat you. It's all of that, those things. Because you have to figure out what you're not willing to accept anymore. You have to realize where you want your life to go and how you want it to feel and the things that you want and the people that you want and the emotions that you want. And if you're not getting those in your life right now, what is this here to teach me so that I can better move into what I want, better move into what I need with my just want, because a lot of us want things. Look at, I want to win the jackpot for the lottery. I'll take it any day, all day. I know they say that more money, more problems. You know what? Let me see. I'm willing to take the risk. I will throw myself down.